my name is John Larsen. I do independent consulting for strategy. I help businesses to grow through transformative new business creation. I've lived in China a total of 9 years and Taiwan 2 years. I started my career with Ford Motor Company in product strategy because I was very passionate about product creation. Over time, I realized that many of the issues I wanted to solve were broader business issues, so I shifted into business strategy. And in the auto industry, we've had an extreme amount of disruption over the last few years. So being in business strategy, I started to get into new business creation. So with that, I caught the bug and have just really gotten excited about how do we create new businesses? How do we start up new things that can solve people's problems? So most of my career was in the product area, doing strategy and planning for those products. With that path, it was a very conventional corporate approach for 17 years that I was in Ford Motor Company. I knew what types of positions would fit, and I would be progressing through that. It was somewhat unconventional in that I spent more of my time overseas than I did in the US. So I spent 2 years early on in my career doing an assignment in China, and then later on I spent another 7 years over there. And so that pathway definitely took me a little bit out of the mainstream, but it was still a corporate pathway. And it wasn't until I started to get involved with the disruption that the industry was facing that I got passionate about the startup world and how I can help to create new businesses. The best thing about my job is that I get to discover and create new things. That really my job depends on ideas, on figuring things out that haven't been done before and finding a way to do those. So I love that process of discovery and learning new things. Traditionally, actually, the worst thing was fighting bureaucracy, that a significant portion of strategy is just convincing everyone that it's the right thing to do. And so even if there was a very good idea, it took a long time to influence the whole rest of the organization to accomplish that. And that was just the nature of doing business, and I know that there are many organizations that people face those same things. The worst part of my job now that I've left Ford is also the best part, which is the uncertainty. I told you that I love the discovery, but that comes with a great deal of uncertainty, not knowing what's going to happen next, and not knowing where we'll live in the future maybe, or what that means for my family. And so that's a challenge, but it's one that we've come to live with over the years, and we're happy with it. The average day for me right now is actually very different from what it's been over the years. I do a lot of networking to reach out to people and understand where there might be opportunities, where there are things that I can make a difference. So I spend a lot of time going out to breakfast and lunch and dinner with people, and I still spend a lot of time on email. Email has always been a big part of my day, and that's still the case because that's the way people communicate. And then I still spend a lot of my time at a whiteboard. And honestly, in my career at Ford, I would spend a lot of time at a whiteboard, and I continue to do that. That's my free thinking space. And then you take time translating those ideas into something more substantive that you can share with other people. Right now, then, I have certain companies that I'm working with that international is a huge part of their growth plan, and how they deal with those international affiliates is an important part of their business. But right now, international is not central to my job like it was for my 17 years at Ford. Really, when I was at Ford, then the US is only a third of our business. And a large part of my career was figuring out how to be more successful overseas. And I would say that there were many times where even jobs in the US, they would tell me that they hired me for that job because they knew I had the diverse perspective of having lived overseas and been a part of the business overseas and understanding that. In a large corporation like Ford, you will find many people in the headquarters that have never dealt with overseas, and they've done their little piece and they don't know what happens over in China or Europe or in Africa or South America. But being in tune with those really gives you a broader perspective on how the company works and how it can grow. So I would recommend to students that are studying international business that they build both their international culture and language abilities, but also build another core competency to complement that. My opportunity to work overseas for Ford came very early in my career. I had been at Ford for 3 years when I went on my first international assignment, and that's not very common, but it was because there was a perfect fit with some of the things that I had done in my 3 years at Ford and in my studies before that. Most of the time, if a company is going to send you overseas, they want you to have a capability that they're sending you overseas for. If it's just knowing that local market, they can hire a local national that knows that local market much better than you do. So they need somebody who can build the bridge between the home company office and the international affiliate. So you need to build a capability that a company can hire you for in addition to just building a bridge. It's not very common for someone to just be the bridge. They have to understand both sides in order to do that effectively. Now, there are people that make a career that is purely international business, and so there are pathways to that. But even then, what is your business? What business are you running? And so you really need to build that core competency and pay attention to those other areas of expertise.
Oh, you're still there. Well, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fantastic, and for more like it, please go to internationalhub.org and subscribe to our channel.